Good morning and welcome to another Creative Coffee Break with myself, Dwynwen from Loch Ness Knitting. Joining me today, I have Callie, who is a weaver based in Dundee. Callie, why don't you tell us a little bit more about where you are and what you do?
Hi, Dwynwen. It's nice to chat with you this morning. So I'm in Dundee, as you mentioned. It's a city on the east coast of Scotland. And for those who don't know, it's basically a couple of hills next to a great big estuary. And it's a wonderful place to live because you're up high looking out over the water. Wherever you are in Dundee, you have a fantastic open view, and I absolutely love it. It's a very inspirational place to live and work. And I weave here. I have a studio in a refurbished jute mill. Dundee was famous in the 19th century and early 20th century for its jute industry. But that's all gone, and the mills have been repurposed in other ways. And my studio is in a mill that's become artist studios. So there are dozens of us working there, and it's a really fantastic creative space to work in.
Lovely. Do you have a piece of work that you can show us to maybe show the viewers?
I have my friend Doris here, who I will interview here. Doris comes with me to events and helps me show off my work. So
what's she modelling for us today?
She's modelling for us today. So this is a sort of example of the kind of thing that I weave, wearable textiles in luxury naturally dyed fibres. So this is merino silk wrap. And you can probably see that the design is quite organic in sort of structure, and that's very much what excites me about weaving. Everybody knows the sort of classic a woven interlacement is basically a warp thread and a weft thread interlaced at right angles. And there are weavers that really love that right angular structure and really celebrate it. And obviously, as in Scotland, our traditional fabrics, the tartans, are based on that grid structure. It's a fantastic celebration of those right angles. But then there are those weavers who are constantly resisting the right angle. And there are lots of ways in which you can actually bend and curve with weaving. And I'm one of those. I'm a right angle resistor. So my particular way of doing it is by kind of it's a bit like a pixelated digital image. But you take those little intersections and you kind of vibrate them over the surface of the cloth so that you get more curving organic shapes. And I find that really exciting, the fact that you can take a right angular grid but turn it into something much more organic in shape and feel. This example that Doris is wearing is quite a good illustration of that.
And just to give us an idea of the amount of work that goes into your pieces, how long did it take you to make the piece that Doris is modelling for us?
Well, it's always really hard to say with woven pieces because you seldom make one piece from start to finish on its own. The weaving process kind of, is divided up. There's setting up the loom, which is a big overhead, and it might take anything from a day to a week to set up the loom, depending on the type of work that you're going to do, how much of it there is, and how fine the threads are, and so on. And then you'll weave off the pieces that you want to make from that warp. Now, in fact, this is quite an unusual piece because it was a complete one-off. So I dressed the loom just for this piece. In fact, I hand painted the warp just for this piece. It took a long time to make, basically. We're talking about several days' work for a single wrap because of the sequence of the processes and the complexity of each individual one. that's not necessarily typical, but it's, yeah, it can vary enormously. I would say you couldn't make anything in under a day, but once you get going, you can be quite speedy.
And is that one of your looms behind you there?
This is my newest loom, and an exciting departure for me because it has many shafts. I don't know if you can see, if I just tilt this ever so slightly, the vertical cords there are supporting the shafts. This loom has 32 shafts, and it's driven by what's called a computer dobby. Which basically means that I set up my weave in a computer program. So I do all my designing on the computer, and then I plug my laptop into the loom. And as I treadle at the loom, I mean, the loom doesn't do it by itself, unfortunately. No. This is still hand woven. Well, I say unfortunately, I like the weaving process. I'm not trying to outsource it to the loom. As I treadle the loom, the laptop is keeping track of where I am in the pattern and sending the instruction to the shafts to raise and lower to make each row of the pattern. So it's a completely new departure for me. I got this loom in February, and I'm still working out the best way to work with it. So it's quite exciting.
It sounds fascinating, and that looks quite a complex piece of equipment. If somebody wanted to try weaving at home and get a taste of what you do, is there a simple, easy thing that they could try just to get a feel for it?
Well, I think this is one of the exciting things about weaving, that you can do it with really, really simple things, and you can go all the way up to really, really complex things, and there's just no end to the explorations that you can make. I have here my sort of simplest loom. This is a backstrap loom, and a backstrap loom is one that you wear on your body. So the warp threads, the ones that are fixed, are actually tensioned between you and something that you tie the other end to. So you might tie it to the back of a chair or something like that. Okay. And then when you lean back in the belt, the warp is tensioned and you can weave with it. So my backstrap loom, I don't know if I can show you this without putting it all on the floor. This part, this is what I wear around my body. This is actually the strap off an overnight bag. You know, the kind that has the little clips that clip on the handles. You unclip it and you have a sort of adjustable belt. It's clipped on to a bit of string running through a spool. And this is this little band that I've been experimenting with, is sort of attached round the spool through another. This is the slidey part of another adjustable strap. It's held together with the plastic bag clipper that you get from the supermarket. The only strictly weaving part that I have here is this rigid heddle, which you can get from a weaving supplier. In fact, you don't need a rigid heddle for backstrap weaving. You can make something yourself out of a stick and a length of string, and then I have a couple of sticks running through it here at the end to tension it. So the rigid heddle you can buy, but as I say, you can also work with backstrap looms in even simpler ways. And if you just Google backstrap weaving, you will find loads of really good online instructions, and you can set yourself up in this way. And it's really fun because you can take it anywhere and attach yourself to the furniture and you're weaving.
Is there a piece on there for us to have a little look at what you're making on there?
Yeah, well, I'm a bit ashamed of this actually. It's a rather ratty example of little samples that I've been trying. Oh, can I get it? So turn it to the camera there. So you can just see I've got a little coloured border, and then I'm picking up some little patterns. Yeah, there are lots of different traditions, and weaving traditions around the world are just incredible. I could go on all day, and I don't want to do that. This is actually a sort of Baltic Scandinavian style, but there's also South American traditions of backstrap weaving. yeah, get on there, get onto Google and look it all up, because that you can lose yourself in the wonderful things that people do with really, really simple equipment.
Wow, that's fascinating. And you've shown us some really beautiful pieces today. If somebody wants to see more of your work, have you got some details where people could see more photos?
Yeah. My website. Well, I have several websites. This is where you can find my work, and there are links on there too to my social media, and to my teaching website, where I have lots of things that people can do at home if they have a loom already.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our Creative Coffee Break today. And for the viewers watching, there are plenty more of these in the series, talking to other weavers. We've got ceramic artists, we've got quilt making, lots of things for you to try at home and be inspired in your own making.